Hola. So I made a video a while ago. I want to say I'll link it below, and it was called "Coming Out as Not a Lesbian at Work." So this is kind of like a part two slash like kind of up. It's not really like an update. It's like a continuation. So if you go watch that video, you can see like my experience with having to come out as not a lesbian at work if the situation fits. And at the time, I had a new job, so navigating like who gives a fuck and who doesn't is always a little like, you don't know, you kind of got to feel it out. And at that time, I go into this in the video, but I had started going out with coworkers and had a lot of friends. And so this video is like what I like to call the next level, which is I have a lot of friends at work. I regularly hang out with friends, with lots of people at work. But this has to do with coming out as not a lesbian to people like superiors, we'll say. And again, this is coming out in a way that's like people are inquiring, asking questions, and it's not like it's in a like a friendly setting. It's not like, in that morning meeting when we're in there and you're like, hey, why don't you tell us a little bit about like yourself and things that you put in your mouth this weekend. It's not like that. It's more like interacting with people who have more job experience, so they're above me, they're in some way in charge of me in some way. Whether that's directly in charge of me or in another department, they're just higher up than I am. So I got a new boss at some point during this gap between the last video you saw and this video you see, and this boss was pretty chill, roughly a little bit older than me, but not by much, and we had gone out for like a work event, and then one thing led to another, and we started talking about dating. Because when you go out with like coworkers a lot, or even if it's like conferences or business settings, it's like you're gonna eat and drink with these people, and it's like you're not always gonna talk about work. So if I know that somebody has like a great wife at home and a great kid at home, or a great husband at home, or they're dating this boy or that boy or this girl, and you get to know these people's names, and it's just like a matter of time before like you're almost asked, well, what about you? Like, who are you with? Like, who's your kid? And so like those things happen. So at first, when I'm feeling out somebody in this situation, we'll call this boss A. So when I'm feeling out boss A, it's like I know boss A, it has been married X amount of time and has a couple, like has kids, and they check in with whoever their person is, and meanwhile I'm sitting there like, twiddling my thumbs, and it's like, oh, well, what's up with you? Like, who are you with? Like, do you have somebody you're dating? And normally I'm like, oh no, I'm single as a whistle. Whistles are single. Yes, they are, I think. So, boss A and I had a night once, and, they were like, so, whoa, what do you mean? Because I kept using generic terms. For example, I am single, so I was like, single, words, but I'm still talking to my ex, so it's always like my ex. I don't use pronouns with my ex. I don't use pronouns at all. And so it's just, you get to a point where somebody wants to ask you like, so like, is this person like female or male? And instead I'll just be like, what do you want to know? What? And I make it a little weird at first because it's fun, but ultimately it's like, oh no, the person I was just talking to, oh yeah, that person was a guy, or that person was a girl. And so I will say that. So boss A, I had done this whole thing with, and they were pretty chill about it and wanted to know more about the relationship, but like, I lead in, because you're asking me questions, so I lead in with, sure, I was banging this chick for a second, but that has nothing to do, I know what you're thinking, you think because I got a shaved head in this story that's like somehow like comparative in this, and it's not. So I usually take the tangent off of like whoever it is I'm dating or whatever the situation is, and be like, yeah, except that like I know you think I'm a lesbian because I got a shaved head, but like that's not the case. In fact, like I actually think I'm like a boy. Yep. right? And so that leads into a whole thing. And at first it's just like, wait, what? And I'm like, right, yeah, so like that's how it is. And I go in and explain that I feel as though, I was born male between the ears, and why I don't care about pronouns, and why I may or may not want to take steps to transition in some aspects, which I'm not on hormones, and I really have no intention to be on hormones, and that could change again. But so I go into it, but I deviate from like who I'm dating, who I'm attracted to how I actually feel, because it's important. Because the reason you're asking me or inquiring, besides you might want to be my friend in a situation, is because you're making assumptions based on normal stereotypes. Lesbians have shaved heads and are ridiculously handsome. I don't know. So I like to hit on a little bit of both. Then I had this interaction with Boss B, who also has been, in a relationship, married, kids, all that stuff. Older, a little older than me. This is a big boss. This is boss. I should have did this backwards, but Boss B is Boss A's boss. It's just that I talked to Boss A about me before I talked to Boss B about me. And our situation was we were traveling and we had time to kill as we were sitting in this lounge thing, and it's we start talking about relationships, and it's I know what you're thinking though. And I was like, but that's not how it is completely. Yeah, this is who I'm banging for this day, but I feel that I identify more like this. And Boss B was very much that's just so crazy, in the sense of Boss B used to be in locker rooms and not even think twice, or be in bathrooms and not even think twice. And here I am, I go into the bathroom and I'm very cautious or conscientious of who's in there, if it's gonna be weird or not. I don't feel like I belong in there, but I don't also strive to pass, so I'm not gonna go in the male's bathroom. We got in a very deep, heavy conversation, and Boss B was all about learning about the things that I go through and my perspective, and who accepts it or knows about it around me. And I told Boss B, everybody, is, if you're willing to sit and listen, and we've gotten that far in our relationship, then you're pretty open-minded in that sense. But it's interesting, because I never ever in my entire career of life have ever came out as not lesbian to superior. So this occurred, and I don't even like saying coming out, because I don't feel like I'm coming out of anything. I just feel like I am who I am. And both of these bosses of mine were very just yeah, no, you are who you are, that. We don't it was very just, they're very accepting people, very accepting colleagues overall, very accepting job, but usually in past places, it's always it's not spoken of. They just assume it just is what it is. Whether or not they assume, I'm assuming they assume. I don't know. That's just the vibes I get, or I have gotten. But it's again, something I never planned to do. It kind of just came up in conversation. It's not I can understand if you're gonna get on hormones, if you're gonna actually transition, you may want to be hey, my name is this and it's gonna be that, or I was this pronoun, now I'm gonna be that. I just don't do that right now. I don't have dysphoria with pronouns, and it just is what it is. Yeah, so it's just something I experienced. And again, if you watch the video before this, my whole mentality about coming out and with my colleagues as not a lesbian is below, and you can watch that to actually see more into how I think about this stuff. But this is me coming out as two superiors, and it was fine, and it was a learning experience for them. And I guess it's always a learning experience for me, because I know two people are exactly the same, so you never know how somebody's gonna take it. But if you feel safe and you feel close enough to the person, go for it. If they care to ask questions and they care to know you like that, then why not? And that's all I gotta say. Happy Monday. We're done!